So if it's the feather, it has to come from a bird. I used to tell mom that, Mom, this is my college. There was this walking trail in Nairobi National Park, and there was this armed guard next to me. And my bird guide was walking a bit away. And kuch to awaaz aaya, like not more than, let's say, 5-7 meters away. And the guide shouted Simba. And by then I knew that Simba means a lion in Swahili. And I saw a lioness shooting out of the bush in front of me. I was on foot towards the right. The guard was next to me, but I ran away from him towards my left. You shouldn't hold my heartbeat so that I was like tuck 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 tuck. The experience is my guidance.
Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast VichaarVibes.
मैं नोएल, मैं रश्मिता और मैं प्रियंका.
Let's put together good vibes onto the world.
Hi Esha, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
And thank you so much विचार वाइब्स पे हमसे इंटरव्यू करने के लिए. How are you feeling today?
Amazing. And thank you invite करने के लिए.
No, we are happy too. Let's start, Esha. So you are Esha Munshi from Ahmedabad. Tell us what defines Esha Munshi.
I would say that many things. There is not one thing which can define me, and I'm proud of that. So I'm an architect. I sing sometimes. I'm a bird watcher. I've been bird watching for many years now, and I'm the founder of something called Feather Library. So now I'm an ornithologist. So yeah, one thing cannot define me.
I can say that Esha wears many hats. Architect, dancer, singer, and now a birder or a bird watcher. Um, how do you justify all this? How do you master all this?
So it takes me a long time to commit to something, but once I do, I mean, that's it. I mean, then my mind is set upon that. Architecture, of course, it's what I've studied and it's what my formal training is. Uh, but I used to, even for that, I had set my mind to, because I remember telling my mother in ninth grade that whenever we used to pass through our college sept, I used to tell mom that, Mom, this is my college. And
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I had set up my mind that, okay, this is where I'm studying, this is what I'm going to do. And somehow or the other ways just everything just fits together eventually. So yeah, and basically it's about really spending time with oneself to know what a person really wants to do and then committing after it is what is required, I guess.
In a way, you kind of manifest your life and you have manifested your life. मैं ऐसा बोल सकती हूँ क्योंकि
Yes.
अगर 9th स्टैंडर्ड में कोई ऐसा बोलता है कि मम्मा ये मेरा कॉलेज है तो वेल you manifested it, right?
हाँ, और ऐसा कई बार हुआ है. ये एक सिर्फ एग्जाम्पल था.
Okay.
बहुत बार ऐसा हुआ है when I would think about something, मैंने कुछ सोचा है, and it will take some time. Of course, nothing happens overnight. पर हाँ, वो हो जाता है फिर. Yeah, it happens.
ईशा, हम एक बार बात कर रहे थे तब तुमने ऐसा बोला था कि यू डोंट फिट इन अ बॉक्स, राइट? What does that mean? Can you explain what does it mean not to fit in a box? Is it socially, is it mentally, or is it professionally?
I think that whatever I am today and whatever I am doing and whatever I have been able to do, मैं जो कुछ कर सकती हूँ, तुमने जो भी कुछ एस्पेक्ट्स बोले सोशली, प्रोफेशनली, अगर हम लोग एक रट में फंस जाते हैं ना, तो it's very difficult to come out of that and think about कुछ और करने का. तो what I mean is I don't fit in a box is मैं कभी रट में फंसती नहीं हूँ या मैं फंसना नहीं चाहती. uh, and I try my best कि मैं उसमें नहीं फंसूं. uh, it has its own good points and bad points. I'm not saying that it's all a very rosy picture, but अगर कुछ करना है, कुछ अलग करना है, तो अलग तरीके से सोचना पड़ता है. फिर वो अगर जैसे वो सिखाया जाता है वो घोड़े जैसा ऐसे करके, तो फिर वो यू कैन थिंक आउटसाइड द बॉक्स. तो इफ यू वांट टू think outside the box, you should not fit in a box.
What gives you, what makes you do that, to remind yourself that, Isha, you want to do something extra, to, you don't have to sit in a conventional idea of the society or professional life. What makes you go?
I think my talks with myself makes me go all the time. Uh, I'm
Mhm.
always self-analyzing myself कि कैसे करना है, क्या करना है, ये करना है, नहीं करना है. Uh, almost every day, I self-analyze. Uh,
Hmm.
again, I mean, against, I know we all are like, right now also we are connected digitally, but I do have my offline time. uh, I do read a lot of books. uh, all those जो बूढ़े लोग कहा करते थे, I do those things. I sit with myself, I self-analyze. uh, I avoid watching reels, I read books, come up with new ideas in my head, and
Mhm.
just try to implement those.
How was your journey as an architect? Because me being an architect, I'm curious to know what was that journey like, because you wanted to be an architect. That was, let's say, your uh, childhood dream, I could say. Um, what was it like to be an architect?
Yeah, I enjoy architecture. Uh, I enjoy creating something out of nothing. And I think that's what I like about being an architect. And I practiced architecture for 15 years. So I have seen actually plain grounds and then the buildings coming up and then people living inside that space which I've created. So uh, it's it's very satisfying to see that something which is in your head when it actually materializes in front of you, and that vision which you have is actually there physically. That feeling is very satisfying, and I do love it. Um and that's what my journey of being an architect has been, that I always wanted to create something out of nothing.
So then, how did this journey with birds, or let's say, your interest, what invoked your interest in bird watching, and ये कैसे शुरू हुआ? You were an architect, you were very satisfied with your life.
It's kind of a long story, but I'll try to cut it short. But in my previous office, I used to work with a very prestigious architect of Ahmedabad, one of the first architects of Ahmedabad, Kamal Mangal Das. And
Oh, yes.
I was working for him for 9 years. And yeah, he's still my mentor. So, but he had, so on the terrace where we used to keep our samples, it was overlooking a pond. And one day I was just on the terrace and I saw that there is a bird sitting on the pond. There was a stone on the pond, and the bird was sitting on it. And it was like white with blue cap and quite big bird, medium-sized bird. I'm like, I've not seen this bird before. Because of course, when I was young, my grandfather used to say that, okay, this is bulbul, this is chidiya, this is basic, like every kid would know. ये कौवा है, ये peacock है. My birding was limited to that. Uh, till 2013, in fact. And when I saw this bird, I was like, मैंने ये पहले नहीं देखा. So I had a DSLR at that time, and I just clicked a photo of that. And my cousin was in bird watching, so I sent him the photo that ये कौन सा bird है? And then he said black crowned night heron, and I'm like, oh my God, on earth I'm going to remember that? And yeah, I mean that was the spark for me. And then he took me to a bird sanctuary nearby. So one bird became 10 birds. Then I got field book from which I used to know the names of the bird which happens in India. And one became 10, 10 became 50, 50 became 100, 100 became 1,000. Yeah, that never stopped. That curiosity never stopped.
You got addicted.
Yeah, I got addicted. And it was like sheer curiosity, and that thing is still there today. I want to see the birds which I have not seen. Not to like tick them off or anything, but it's a new bird. It's a new feeling of seeing a new bird. It always gives me this ecstasy of seeing a new bird for the first time. And it's something which I just, yeah, can't explain. But yeah, that's the joy I'm getting. So it was a
Okay.
hobby for 10 years. So
10 years.
yeah.
Wow.
So every
And
weekends, every holiday, I would just go for birding.
so which was the first site, if you remember, that your cousin took you for bird watching, or you
Oh,
went yourself alone?
that was Thor Bird Sanctuary in the outskirts of Ahmedabad.
Okay. It's a beautiful place. I've been
It's a
there.
beautiful.
It's really
You just fall in love with
yes.
nature, and then yeah, there's no turning back. At least for me, there was no turning back.
I see that. Um so Isha, you did this, your interest in birds ग्रेजुअली गॉट इंक्रीज तो लोग बर्ड वॉचर बन जाते हैं या फिर फोटोग्राफर्स बन जाते हैं विच यू डिड आई सपोज राइट यू क्लिक्ड बट देन दिस आइडिया ऑफ फेदर लाइब्रेरी हाउ डिड दैट पैन आउट और कहाँ से ये आइडिया आया कि मैं ये कर सकती हूँ
So so that's also a journey over the span of 10 years, as I told you, like I didn't know a single bird, like proper name and all. So I started photographing birds first, and then I started traveling across India to see new birds. I started meeting so many people. Uh, then I started sound recording of the bird. So the sound which the bird produces, I started recording that. That's also one of my feather in my hat because I'm internationally known bird sound recorder as well. And one of my sound has been selected out of top 30 out of 1 million sounds in the world. So, yeah, so I was like doing that, and I was into sound recording. So basically, again, as I said, I did not want to fit in a box. That thing will keep on coming during our conversation because बहुत सारे लोग photographs लेते हैं. बहुत सारे लोग bird watching करते हैं for their pleasure. No one at that time, no one was into sound recording actually, like very few people. And that intrigued me that ये कोई नहीं कर रहा. I want to try that. And that's how I got into sound recording, and that has its own techniques and new learning. And also one more thing which helps me staying outside the box is that I never stop learning. I always keep on learning. So from I think 2014 to 2019 was this sound recording which was going on. And in 2019, I went to National Center for Biological Sciences at Bangalore, where Cornell Lab of Ornithology had hosted a workshop for sound recording. So they showed proper techniques of recording and uh, all those things. But before that, I already had recorded sounds of the birds for the first time in the world of a few birds, at least three, four birds, because I remember that there were zero sounds on this public forum which we have, and mine was the first sound uploaded in the world. So at that time also the people in Cornell were quite impressed. I can say that, oh, you have the sound of this bird and all those things. Uh, and I met them. And then once I met them, I started this course in bird biology from Cornell. It was a distant learning course. And during lockdown, that is what I was doing. And I had a blast during lockdown because I could do all the studies and everything, which I could not otherwise, being a practicing architect and running off to sites. And so I had that my time and I could do all those things. So I did a course in bird biology, in ornithology, and yeah, during that time, I thought that there is no reference for feathers, especially for Indian birds. There are two for one is for North American birds and one is in Germany from the previous collections. But there's no for Indian birds there is no record, and I was obsessed with birds and especially the feathers because feathers are the only thing which is uniquely avian. So if it's the feather, it has to come from a bird. No other animal has feathers. And without feathers, a bird is not a bird. It can't fly, it can't do any other things without feathers. So it's like inseparable. Birds and feathers are like inseparable. And I wanted to know more about feathers. I wanted to see museums. I wanted to see the collections. But me being an architect, it was really difficult for me to get access and do all those things. So I thought, if there's nothing like that, why don't I create one? And that's where I think my training of architecture came into picture. I could visualize which was not there and create something out of nowhere. And that's how the Feather Library came to be.
Okay, this is incredible. But Isha, you say that you mentioned that they don't. Being an architect, it was very difficult for you to get an entry. Vacuum.
Yes, because all these museum collections, because they are really delicate, all these natural history museums, uh,
Mm-hmm.
especially birds, right? Like they are like 70 years old specimens and all. They're like really delicate. So unless and until someone wants to do a research, it's very difficult to get in and just see them, especially in India. And then I thought that we live in a digital age.
Hmm.
So why don't I keep it open for the people like me who don't belong to the same background but still can see it for their reference. There are so many bird watchers, there are so many scientists, there are so many other people who would be interested in seeing it. And that's why I made it digital and free.
You know what? The kids will be the most excited and curious to learn about the bird feathers.
not just kids, everyone picks up. Wherever,
हाँ.
not just kids, even adults do it. If you're walking, you'll pick up the feather for sure, and you'll see it and wonder that wow, it's so nice.
फिर ऐशा ऐशा जैसा कोई होगा कि बोलेगा कि अरे इसके आगे क्या, मतलब ये तो एक
हाँ.
फेदर है, पूरी पाख देखनी है मुझे.
तो कहाँ देखने को
नाइस.
मिलेगी? Yeah, that's what I thought to myself, and that's how Feather Library came to be.
तो बता दो कि कहाँ पे है, कहाँ पे देखने को मिलेगी.
It's online. It's online. It's a website called www.featherlibrary.com,
ओके, एंड दिस इज जस्ट द बिगिनिंग, राइट?
and it's
सो
just the beginning.
ओके, तो अभी Esha, tell us, how do you collect these feathers? Because I've seen you have preserved the whole wings
Yeah,
of birds.
yeah.
कहाँ से,
So,
how do you source them?
again, that was one of the major questions. Uh, कि हाँ करना है पर लाएंगे कहाँ से, you know, because if you just pick up a random feather, you would not, most of the times you would not know what species it belongs to. So
Right.
I tied up, I got permission from the forest department, and because everything in India comes under Wildlife Protection Act, uh, so I followed the proper procedures, and then I tied up with a rescue center in Ahmedabad where
Mhm.
so many times injured birds, ill birds, poisoned birds, they come to the rescue center, and there is around 50% mortality rate because birds are very sensitive to humans, basically. To even, I mean, they don't know we are trying to rescue them, right? So, uh, and many of them do succumb to the injury or illness. And there's a procedure where either you bury the bird or you burn the bird after once it has died. So I spoke to the forest department that let me uh, document before you follow this procedure because this kind of data set is not there, and this is a non-invasive way of gathering data. It's like when in early times there were organ donors, right? Because of them, today we are able to transplant so many organs in humans. And the same things happen in birds also. There are feather transplants which happen. And so all these feathers which are there can be used to transplant wing feathers of other birds individually, and that thing is coming up,
Mhm.
but it does need a lot of research on the primary basis that what species has what kind of feathers, and that's how I tied up with the rescue centers, and this is what that's how our journey started, because it's very difficult, Rashmita, because uh, we humans are one species, so it's very easy uh, for birds. Each species has different diet, different habits, different anatomy, different feathers, different shape of the wing, shape of the tail. And in India, as of today, there are 1,358 species of birds. So that's the data which we are looking
Wow.
at. So yeah, we need to have the base data in order to do something for the future, right?
I would say that's an uncharted way. No, किसी ने इसके बारे में सोचा नहीं है, या फिर सोचा होगा तो ऐसे हुआ कि अरे बहुत काम है तो अभी छोड़ दो.
Yeah.
हमारी ऐशा ने पकड़ लिया.
Yeah.
But Esha, I think I would also like to know कि एक जब हम अभी फेदर की बात कर रहे हैं, बट देन यू आर गोइंग अ लिटिल बियॉन्ड इट एंड देन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि पूरा विंग होता है, फिर शरीर पे फेदर्स होते हैं. कैन यू ब्रीफली टेल अस कितने तरीके के फेदर्स होते हैं एक बर्ड के शरीर में?
अब बेसिकली 6 टाइप्स के
हम्म.
flight feathers. So that includes wing and tail. So those two are flight feathers. Then there are down feathers and contour feathers, which are body feathers. And the best way to explain that is our down jacket. So it is filled
Ah,
with down feathers, which is used for insulation, and the contour feathers works as the skin of the jacket, which gives it the shape, keeps the
अच्छा.
shape intact. And then there are two sensory feathers, which are very less known about, which are bristles. So they will have it near its beak and for sensory. Different birds have it for different reasons. And there are another, like we have nerves, like they have a type of feathers which are called phyloplume, which send signal to the
Okay.
brain and tells that, okay, this feather is not there. You need to send more protein here. Like when we get injury and
Mm-hmm.
our nerves send the command to the brain that, okay, send your this thing here because this needs to heal. Similarly, that those feathers, because uh, those feathers work as the external nerves. Of course, birds have nerves, but
Okay.
external nerves which are connected to the internal nerve.
Ah, so they are like the connection point.
Yeah, because the feathers
Ah.
are outside. It's like hair, right? So how do
हाँ.
we know? For example, it's like the grown nail. If we cut it off, then there's no connection. It's not connected to the nerves. But if it had some
Hmm.
connection, then it would know that okay, this nail has been broken from here.
अच्छा. Okay.
So it's like different from humans. Yeah.
ओके. सो दी ये सारे फेदर्स जो होते हैं वो एक झड़ते भी हैं और नए भी आते हैं.
Every year and sometimes
ओके.
twice a year.
ओके, डिपेंड्स कौन सा बर्ड है.
Depends कौन सा bird है. That's the thing, you cannot
ओके.
generalize because सारे different species है, right? So you cannot generalize. वो generalize हो ही नहीं सकता. वो हर एक में
राइट.
अलग होता है. So,
सो टेल मी एशा, दिस इज दिस इज अ डीप subject, I think, but we have
it's
very limited time.
it's science, pure science. Yeah, yeah.
Pure science, right? So I asked you so many technical questions. I want to now go a little zoom out
Mhm.
and ask you again. मुझे एशा के बारे में जानना है, तो tell us, इंडिया में where all have you been to watch birds, और are there places कि वहां पे जाना चाहिए, ये स्पेशल जगह है और your favorite in India?
बहुत है.
I'm
In
sure.
India में actually I've been almost everywhere except 7 states. I've not been to 7 states of India yet.
Okay.
Other than that, I've been everywhere in India, from Ladakh to Arunachal Pradesh to Nagaland to Manipur to Kerala
Wow.
to, yeah, everywhere. Basically everywhere. Andaman Nicobars and a very remote island of Andamans called Narcondam Island. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, I've practically been all over India. I'm saying it's very difficult for me to select a favorite place per se because India is beautiful and there's just so many things to see.
राइट. राइट. तो मैं ये बोल रही थी कि एक बर्ड मैप होता है ऑफ इंडिया एंड देन देर इज एशिया चेजिंग बर्ड्स अक्रॉस इंडिया.
हाँ, वो almost हो रहा है. It's about to end. It's about to merge together.
मच टुगेदर. आर
Yeah,
यू
yeah.
क्यूरियस अबाउट द माइग्रेटरी बर्ड्स?
Uh, very, but that's like another science. So Yeah, let's not get into that because birds are amazing. They
I'm sure.
they there's one bird, like one individual, okay, of a
Hmm.
species called great knot.
Hmm.
It was ringed in Kamchatka, Russia, which is like the far east of Russia. Then it was
Okay.
seen on a beach at Jamnagar, near Jamnagar, on a particular small patch of beach. It goes back to Kamchatka every year and again coming back to the same beach for last 6 years.
The same bird.
The same bird because it has got a tag named 6Z, and that's the name of the bird. That same
Wow.
individual.
And how
So,
big is it? Okay.
yeah. And
Right.
it comes to that particular beach, which is not more than 500 meters long. And it
Okay.
goes to Kamchatka, which is like near Japan, in every summer for breeding. And for winter,
Mm-hmm.
it comes to that same exact beach for 6 consecutive years. This is the 6th year.
Okay.
It is there.
Okay.
If you want to see that
Okay.
bird, go on that beach, you'll see that bird. It's that, and it's amazing how they do it.
Now I'm thinking कि अगर climate crisis की वजह से अगर either of the habitat is affected तो उसका क्या होगा?
That's the
And
thing.
yeah, I
That's
think
the big
we need to
question.
protect our
And
bird.
this is just one individual bird we are talking about. There are like thousands of stories like this.
Now that we talked about different sites where you've been to, the bird watching sites, um, I'm sure you've had some experience which have been with you, which will stay with you. तो ऐसा कौन सा क्रेजी एक्सपीरियंस या ब्यूटीफुल एक्सपीरियंस या फनी या जो भी कुछ बोलो, एक एक्सपीरियंस बताओ कि तुम्हें अभी वो पूरी जिंदगी रहेगा और तुम्हें ऐसा लगेगा ये क्या हो गया मेरे साथ.
Okay, there's one experience, but I can't share it with public, so I won't say that.
ओके.
But that was like I can think about it that that was like the craziest thing I did. And just to give a hint that to do my early morning thing, I was actually swinging outside a boat. And so let's leave it at that. I would not go into much of the details, but yeah, that was one of the craziest thing which I've done. And like, but oh, there have been many beautiful experiences, many experiences which has brought tears in my eyes. Uh, I can think of one, and I might stop in the middle because every time I relive it, I get goosebumps. And so I was in Ladakh, and the way we planned, me and my friends, we planned the trip to Ladakh was that we did the other way around. So people generally go from Leh to Nubra Valley across Khardungla. We did a round circuit. We went to Nubra first, and then we came back to Leh. I mean, we didn't go to Leh before that because we were driving. So we had the luxury to do that. So we and Ladakh is beautiful in its own barren way. And it was cold. It was August, so it was quite cold. It was not that uh, warm like June. And so we were in Nubra. We did this whole peripheral trip, Hanle, Pangong, so Nubra, and we were supposed to cross Khardungla and go to Leh. Now, I was very excited because it was my first time, and Khardungla was the highest motorable pass at that time in the world, right? So
Yes.
I was very excited that uh, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's at 18,000 feet, so it's like tremendously high. And the way it goes from Nubra is that it just goes like that across the. So there's this cliff on one side like that, and the road just goes like that. Right where the pass was, we were nearing the pass, and then the car takes the right turn, and there is this Khardungla peak, and which you see first because pass is of course below the peak, right? And then
Hmm.
the moment you take that turn, the first thing you see is this actually literally like a peak and a huge tricolor on it. Even if you don't want to do it, you just salute to that tricolor right there, that you feel that what is it being an Indian. Uh, I never felt it before, but I literally had tears. I am getting goosebumps even right now, and every time I every every time I think of that side, that the highest motorable pass in the world, and you take that turn and you see the peak and you see this huge tricolor, and you just want to salute the soldiers, salute the army. You can't help it but just do this. That hats off. Nothing else.
Salam karo. Yes.
Nothing else. That's it.
Yes.
That feeling
Yes.
cannot be described in words when you are there in the middle of nowhere, in the grandness and emptiness of Ladakh. Seeing that there is just something I would never forget ever. I went to Kenya after all, and um, I did make that happen. And there was this walking trail in Nairobi National Park, and there was this armed guard next to me. And my bird guide was walking a bit away. And कुछ तो आवाज आया, like not more than, let's say, 5-7 meters away. And the guide shouted Simba. And by then I knew that Simba means a lion in Swahili. And I saw a lioness shooting out of the bush in front of me. I was on foot towards the right. The guard was next to me, but I ran away from him towards my left because survival instincts, right? You just run. You don't do anything. You're not supposed to do that. But you just run. Lion is samne. What else you're supposed to do? You run. And yeah, so all these things I'm gonna take with me. And you should have heard my heartbeats at that time, like dug 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 dug. Like 5 meters away from you, there's a lioness shooting out, and you're on feet. You can't do anything about it. So yeah, all these things I live for. I mean, वही मैं लेके जाने वाली हूँ, and that's what I'm going to do.
Aisha, this
So
is
yeah,
wonderful. I think you are you are living a dream and a very very profound conviction in yourself makes that happen. This is very necessary.
it's very difficult to do it. I must say that to
Mm.
dream is
Mm.
one thing, but to actually make it happen,
Yeah.
it requires a lot of uh, courage and strength to
Jigra.
actually
Jigra
जिगरा चाहिए.
चाहिए.
बोलना बहुत इजी है, करना बहुत मुश्किल.
I'm so sure. I agree with you. ये सबकी कहानी है. So our next segment is called Rapid Vichar. It is like rapid fire. I will shoot questions at you. और तुम्हारे दिमाग में जो भी पहला आंसर आता है, यू हैव टू टेल अस. आर यू रेडी?
Yes.
Complete the following sentence. If you were a
Mhm.
bird, then
I would never come back home. I'll keep on flying all over the world.
if somebody wants to go bird watching, what is a toolkit or two halves with the person?
Water bottle, some biscuits like sugar and salt, and a pair of binoculars.
Okay. Uh, Esha an architect or Esha a birder?
Both, but I do like Asia the birder better.
फेदर का यूज होता है कि वो पंछियों को उड़ने में मदद करे, लाइक द विंग्स. व्हाट आर अदर टू tasks that feathers do?
Keeps the bird insulated, gives the bird its form. Sometimes it's used to attract the mates.
What keeps Asia going?
Asia.
Now I'm going to name characteristics, and you'll have to give us names of birds that fit those characteristics.
Okay, that's gonna be interesting.
So I start with elegance.
Wall creeper, it's a combination of gray, black, and in the flight it has this amazing shade of red. I love that color combination.
Mhm. Nautanki.
Oh, all birds.
Okay. Chirpy.
Chirpy. I would want to say marsh babbler. I like. And swamp grass babbler now. The name has changed, but yeah, I really love the song of that bird. Like it keeps on going.
Mhm. Arrogant bird.
Ooh, house crow.
And a friendly bird.
All birds when you give them some space and time.
Thank you so much. They were our rapid Vichar questions. Now we move on to the second segment of our episode, which is called Vichaar Chits, um, where we have prepared some questions for our guests. हम हमारे गेस्ट को भी ये क्वेश्चंस पूछते हैं, एंड देन दीज क्वेश्चंस आर आल्सो फॉर आवर ऑडियंस. It's basically gives you a gist of life and sometimes makes you reflect back upon your life or your own self. So since we are doing this online, you'll have to maybe choose a color and tell me which chip you want to pick up.
Yellow.
Okay. Okay, the question is, um, the most adventurous thing that you've done till now in your life.
Literally, that would be bungee jumping in New Zealand. And philosophically, that will be leaving a career in architecture to pursue a career as an ornithologist.
Okay. I'm just curious, what is so special about that bungee jumping in New Zealand, or is just doing bungee jumping?
I was the first one in the queue. So, and they tied my legs, and I told them not to push because I wanted to do it on my own.
Hmm.
And he would say that, okay, jump. And I'll be like, no. And then he said, okay, shut your brain. And that is the first time I experienced what is actually shutting your brain is.
Mhm.
Because when he counted one, two, three, I literally switched off my brain and I jumped at three on my own. And my God, and that free fall. But yeah, it was quite adventurous for me to do. My parents scolded me afterwards that
But it's
how
done.
could you do that? But anyway,
Okay.
but it's done. And I'm alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And living to tell a story to us. So that's more important.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are done with our Vichar Chits question. Now we are in our last segment where we will ask you questions that are more related to you, uh, Esha, as a person. We would like to
Yeah.
know a little more. So here are the questions. Esha, to each one of us, something or someone that guides us or inspires us. Could be person, could be thing, could be something. For you, कौन तुम्हें इंस्पिरेशन देता है या वो गाइडिंग फोर्स गाइडिंग सोर्स तुम्हारा है? अगर है तो कौन है?
First is, as I have said multiple times, it's nature. When you experience nature closely, it can guide you in the ways you cannot imagine in building yourself or in doing something. And second is, uh, as I said, the experiences is my uh, guiding source. But if you ask me about a person, then there was a lady, a birder lady, and she started birding quite late, in her 30s. And once she started birding, in a few years, she was उसको कैंसर डिटेक्ट हुआ और डॉक्टर्स ने बोला कि यू हैव 1 year to live. She was the first person in the world to see 8,000 species of the world, and this was back in the 90s. And when she passed away, it was not due to cancer, it was during a birding trip in an accident with binoculars around her neck.
No
She is
words.
my inspiration. Yeah, like nothing could stop her, and full of passion, like crazy passion. And when I read her biography, I was like, I think that was one of the turning points in my life as far as birding is concerned. That if you have passion, nothing can stop you.
And what's her name?
Phoebe Snetzinger,
Mm-hmm.
and she passed away in, I think, 99. But the book, her biography is called Life List.
I will definitely share it in our description. Maybe some other guys will
Yeah.
get inspired. So, what are
Yeah.
Esha's future plan? You've achieved so much so far. You are already living your passion. What are your future plans?
Future plans. Um, I don't know. But I do have some dreams of mine. I do want to make a museum of feathers, like physical museum of feathers in India, first of its kind. Uh, I do want to focus on my singing also more and maybe get trained to do that because I don't give that much time. And I want to see all the 10,000 birds of the world.
We wish you happy vibes. We wish that the universe conspires and gives you that vibes to pursue your dreams. Thank you, Esha. And so that's the end of our episode. Thank you so much, Esha, once again. Ki you agreed to share your journey, idea behind the way you live your life. On the behalf of whole Vichar Vibes team, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. So, all the best and thank you so much,
Yeah.
Esha.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was amazing experience.
Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Vichar Vibes.